with us now is Martha Miller, Deputy Executive Director at the National Security Institute. Martha, this is bringing, a lot of hope to people, especially, I imagine, those who have loved ones who are still hostages. We're not across the finish line here, though. So what are the next steps?
Yeah, sure. So as you mentioned, Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner will be headed to Egypt to finalize the details of this plan. There's still, a lot of questions up in the air as to how this will unfold. Obviously, Hamas, while I think there's a lot to be optimistic about the fact that they have indicated and willingness to give up the hostages in return for a much larger number of prisoners that are being held in Israel. Nonetheless, they have not committed to and are kind of balking at the Hamas, Hamas being blocked from this future governorship that has been outlined by the peace deal, where there would be technocrats leading it and an international board led by Donald Trump. Also, Tony Blair would be on that board. And then, I think disarmament of Hamas as well is something that they are not happy with. And as I understand it, there's actually some infighting within Hamas, the political leadership of Hamas and the military side of Hamas around some of these particulars, which is a big part of the hang-up. But I think overall, what I'm optimistic about is the fact that this deal has, such overwhelming backing by key, Arab and Muslim, countries. So we have, the UAE, Turkey, Saudi Arabia, we have Jordan, Indonesia, barely Pakistan, who are all on board. And I think this is actually, pretty significant that they have endorsed this. Qatar as well. And I think Qatar, when Israel went after Hamas leadership in Qatar, that was a wake-up call for them that Israel will go after Hamas no matter where they are. And so the president's threat about all hell breaking out if Hamas does not agree by tomorrow evening, I think people are taking that seriously.
What do you gauge in terms of the wiggle room, the room to negotiate on some of these sticking points? You brought up one, the demilitarization of Hamas. I imagine if you're Hamas and you're at the negotiation table, that gives up all your chips, especially if you're already agreeing to return your biggest bargaining chip, the hostages.
Mm-hmm. Right. And I think, and certainly I think, therein lies, I think, the challenge of ensuring that the hostages come home, because if this threat of all hell breaking out comes to fruition, that is unclear, what the outcome will be. I think what's interesting about that is, this deal essentially, if Hamas doesn't play ball, this deal essentially provides political cover for Israel to continue their war on Hamas, which was really facing a lot of challenges, particularly at the UN General Assembly this past week. They've been losing a lot of political support from even traditional supporters, particularly European partners. So I think this deal really puts the onus on Hamas to demonstrate, do they care about the Palestinian people or not?
Yeah. Tuesday obviously marks the 2-year anniversary from when this all started and thousands lost their lives. These hostages were taken. I know a lot of people want those hostages obviously returned. Let's say we get across the finish line. These hostages come home, those who are alive. I think 20 believed to be alive, but 48 still with Hamas. What's the next step beyond that? What does this mean for the future of Gaza and the rest of that region?
I think this is what's so fascinating, is this international security force that would be made up of the countries I mentioned. This will be a fascinating process. With this governing body that would be chaired by Donald Trump. I think we still have yet to see who else will serve on the governing board of this technocratic, governing body. But, in a way, this isn't dissimilar from, other historical situations. Think about Germany at the end of World War II, for example, where you had, zones that were run or, managed by, foreign leadership for a time. And that was after a total military defeat. So, over time, this could work. And I think, there's a real commitment from these from our partners in the region.
Yeah.
And I think that'll be really fascinating to see what could come about from this. And so I'm cautiously optimistic, much more so than I have been in the past couple of years.
That seems to be the trend around the world. A lot of people watching and hoping that the end is in fact near here. Martha Miller, Deputy Executive Director at the National Security Institute. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.